Greetings. This video will consist of a brief discussion of some of the challenges we have in criminal profiling. First, I'd like to point out some of the misuses of criminal profiling that Kosis and Coleman in their 2001 article present. First, we could have situations where we assume that a person is guilty simply because they have some of the characteristics of a profile. And this is a huge, huge mistake, and we've seen this done many times before, that we have seen someone assumed to be guilty because they fit a preconceived profile. I know of some cases that involved homicides where someone was believed to have been the perpetrator based on criminal profiles, but on closer investigation, it was clear that the person was innocent of any homicidal crimes. Secondly, and kind of in inverse, assuming a person is innocent because they do not fit the profile. Certainly, we've heard many times before this person could not have done that crime because they don't fit the profile, or they're such a nice person. Or I remember when I was conducting an interview regarding a pedophile, a sex offender. Someone who was prominent in the community called me up on the phone and shouted at me, "I know so-and-so, and if you go to court and try to put them behind bars, it will be your ass. And I play golf with them every weekend, and there's no way." I hung up the phone, of course, and reported the incident. But this is the kind of scenarios that you sometimes have to face. By the way, the perpetrator was found guilty of committing child sexual abuse. Also, profiling may be misused in court. We've certainly seen those cases before where someone who does not understand criminal profiling, or also actually maybe even worse, someone who doesn't understand the limitations of criminal profiling. Remember, criminal profiling is just one small piece of the big puzzle. That can be very problematic in the courtroom. And also placing too much credibility and weight basically on the profile, that can be a problem. Also failing to recognize that there's a lack of research in many areas regarding criminal profiling. And in the courtroom scenario, it's important to present the current knowledge we have and what the research shows, and the inconsistencies and the debates regarding the research. And we also have the situation of having no standard credentials for a criminal profiler, for a profiler. Don't even get me started here talking about what we see on the news all the time. Profilers come out of everywhere. And then there's some professional profilers that you'll see on television who do a wonderful job. And then there's others that fail miserably and seem to lack an understanding. So anyone can basically call themselves a profiler, or say they do criminal profiling in that sense. There's no licensure that I'm aware of. Certainly people can get certified in profiling. Our university does offer a certification, which means that you have taken certain courses that give you, background in criminal profiling. And then there's others who become experts through a lot of experience and reading and taking courses through law enforcement agencies, through the FBI. Through public and private institutions that offer coursework, and through on-the-job training and experience, and through supervised experience with a knowledgeable criminal profiler. And usually professional profilers do have some kind of background in the social science or in the medical field. For example, they may be psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, criminal justice specialists, law enforcement officers with specific training in mental health and profiling and forensic psychology, for example. And finally, generalizing beyond the types of crime and beyond cultures that have been studied can be problematic as well, and we can get into a lot of confusion in that regard. So that can be a problem as well. And some of the profiling challenges, uh, I take this work from Eger's work, The Killers Among Us, an excellent book on basically serial murder. And Edgar points out that there are some areas that are challenges to investigating these types of serial crimes, what I call profiling challenges. One is linkage blindness, the failure to link crimes committed by the same perpetrator or perpetrators in close proximity or even in different locations that are farther apart. But the failure to link crimes can be very problematic, and we've seen that happen many, many, many times. Also, there may be a lack of public commitment in funding profiling units or funding someone to get specialized training. There may be problems with coordinating an investigation. You may have several agencies and organizations involved in a particular case. For example, in our a book that will be out shortly on investigating sex crimes committed by clergy and teachers, we point out, in one case, there's like 25 professionals that are involved in some way, and that can get very stressful and confusing and problematic when trying to coordinate everything. You imagine 25 opinions, especially when you have some different, very much opposing opinions. Sometimes that's helpful, sometimes very problematic. It depends how it's handled. Also, information management. How much information is given out to the public and how much is kept in. There's always, it's kind of a double-edged sword in that regard. And also Edgar points out appropriately so that the news media can play a major role in how the crime is constructed and how we make sense of it. And so law enforcement agencies and professionals and the state attorney's office and the media all have some stakes and roles to play out, and this can lead to some problems or some confusion. And there's been some law enforcement officers who have done an amazing job investigating the case and at the same time working in a collaborative, helpful way with the media. But that can also become very problematic and damage a case. Also, obtaining victim information for better investigative purposes sometimes is a challenge. And lacking some protocols can be problematic as well. In other words, are we all over the place, or do we have some standard procedures in specific types of crimes related to criminal profiling? I added 3 others. One is the disconnect between practitioners and researchers, those that actually are in the field conducting investigations on violent crimes, and those that are researching violent crimes. These groups need to really get together, work collaboratively, and put their information and data together rather than kind of be in 2 different worlds. So one of the challenges is collaboration between the professionals and between professionals and research professionals. The second one I mentioned is the lack of professional credentials. Again, and this one really, yeah, I know it's irrational for someone to yell at a television or people talking on a television. Obviously, they don't hear you, but I'm not going to name names because this would go way beyond the limit of time we have for a Google video. But there's a lot of people out there who are just giving terribly erroneous information, information that is not based on any research, or in fact is counter to the research. And just because someone has a doctor in front of their name, it doesn't mean they're an expert in that particular area. And also, I think very important is the rapidly changing technology, and that's a whole nother area in itself. I think we could have a course on using technology to assist in criminal profiling, but we need a lot more information on that as well. And this wraps up this video. Thank you.